we're deriving using the power rule, we just do a times n x to the power of n minus 1. Now this doesn't change when you have negative powers. So let's look at this first example here. So to derive this, we're still going to do 3 times negative 5 x to the power of negative 5 minus 1. Now if we simplify that, that's going to give us negative 15 x to the power of negative 6. Let's look at the second question. Now, you may be thinking, how do we use the power rule on this? So for this, we need to remember that when we have x to the power of a number in the denominator, it's the same as x to the power of negative that power in the numerator. So we can rewrite this and bring this to the numerator as 4x to the power of negative 3. And now we can derive this using the power rule. So 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. X to the power of negative 3 minus 1 will make it negative 4. Now, we can leave it like this, or we can also write it back in the form that we had the question in by taking this to the denominator and making the negative 4 a positive 4. So that's our final answer. Now let's look at the last one. This is derivative of 6 over x to the power of negative 2. So again, if you want to bring this to the numerator, it's going to become, so now we're deriving 6x to the power of, well, if the power here is negative 2, we want the negative of negative 2, so which will make it a positive 2. And deriving that, we get 6 times 2 is 12, x to the power of 2 minus 1, which is 1. And when it's to the power of 1, you don't even have to write that in. So there we go. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind. If you have the power in the denominator, you can bring it to the numerator by just making the power negative of what it is. And when you're multiplying your negative numbers, there's a couple rules to keep in mind. For example, a negative number times a negative number equals a positive answer. A negative times a positive number equals a negative answer. So for example, if our question was find the derivative of negative 3x to the power of negative 5, to do that we need to do negative 3 times negative 5. So because it's in two negative numbers being multiplied, the answer would be positive 15. X to the power of negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. So remember, when you take away 1 from, say, negative 5, the number becomes more negative, so it becomes negative 6.